Double wedding disaster. Friends ruined their wedding, but not ours. I am a 38-year-old man, and I've been married to Mike, who's 35, for 3 years. We've been together for 12. We're very quiet, nerdy, nature-loving guys, not into flashy displays or drama at all. It was the tail end of the pandemic, and since the borders were partially open, we decided to road trip to Gibraltar and elope. The pandemic was a great excuse not to invite anyone to our wedding and just do what we wanted. When we told our lesbian friends, Di, who is 45, and Anne, who is 60, what we were doing, they decided on the spot that we were going to have a double wedding and immediately started taking over, suggesting a bunch of trashy, expensive things that we didn't want. This is the story of how they attempted to ruin our wedding and only ruin theirs. Firstly, we initially decided that we'd get a rental car together and split it 4 ways, with Mike and Di splitting the driving. A month before the wedding, Di and Anne decided it would be cheaper to take the train. Well, 6 trains, actually, across 3 countries. I immediately said no, and it turned out that Di didn't even have her driver's license and had been driving illegally for years. Mike offered to do all the driving if they split the rental car with us. They declined because it was too expensive, and they took the train instead. Obviously, that went terribly for them. Trains were cancelled, tickets were lost, and they missed out on an entire night in Gibraltar because they were stuck at a random train station in the Spanish countryside. Mike and I had a wonderful road trip, and we spent a magical night in an Airbnb in Cartagena on the way. Their train tickets cost more than half of the rental car. Oh my goodness. Secondly, we initially agreed to get a really fancy Airbnb in Gibraltar with a hot tub and all that stuff. Split 4 ways, we could get something really nice. Well, Anne decided she wanted a, quote, real hotel and pulled out of the Airbnb plan. I found a gorgeous little 1-bedroom place for us with a hot tub and a view of the sea. Di and Anne forgot to book a real hotel and ended up in a freaking awful place by the port, like a place for merchant sailors to crash while they're in port. It was on a busy roundabout opposite Burger King. There was no bath, no balcony. It was basic as frick. And actually, it was more expensive than our lovely place. They got no sleep because of the drunk sailors and traffic noise. They didn't even get any towels provided. 3. The night before the wedding, we met for dinner. They'd barely been in Gibraltar for 2 hours, whereas we'd been relaxing since the day before. At dinner, things were tense, but Di was really trying. At some point, she signaled to the restaurant host, and the lady came over with a super fancy VIP bucket with champagne on ice. She popped the cork and gave it to Di, who handed it to Anne, saying, "Just like the one I gave you in New York, baby." It was clearly supposed to be a romantic moment, but Anne refused the cork, and we all smiled nervously to try and smooth things over. The host poured 2 glasses of the champagne and gave the glasses to Di and Anne. Anne took a sip and immediately spat it out, announcing loudly, "It's corked!" We all tried the champagne and we told her it was delicious. Mike and I don't really drink, but we know what champagne tastes like. But Anne insisted the champagne was corked, and she loudly announced that they wouldn't be paying for it. The host was fuming, and I understood why when she told us it was a £750 bottle. She threatened to call the police, so Di sheepishly paid for it. Anne sulked for the rest of the night. I was so embarrassed, and our whole evening was spoiled. When we got back to our Airbnb to take a bubble bath and eat Jaffa cakes, I told Mike there was no way I was going to allow them to ruin another minute of this trip. But if they wanted to ruin theirs, then that wasn't my problem. Number 4. The actual weddings went off okay, apart from the fact they were still drunk from the night before. The registry office was nice, and I married the man of my dreams. Afterwards, we bought them brunch to soak up the booze, and faithfully walked them around the park, taking lovely photos of them. Di had her finger over the lens of every picture that she took of us. When we were done, they suggested we all go to the pub and get wasted. As if. We dropped them off at the pub and went our separate ways. I was honest, and I just told them I want to be alone with my husband. They couldn't really argue with that. Number 5. The wedding dinner. Mike, Di, and I all had fairly casual preferences for a restaurant for the wedding dinner. But Anne insisted on a fine dining fish restaurant that didn't even serve desserts. I outright refused. I don't eat fish at all. But Anne insisted on the fish restaurant, so we decided not to meet up. and also tried to convince us to chip in £200 for a custom wedding cake to get delivered to the restaurant. But we said, heck no. Mike and I went to the best steakhouse in Gibraltar. I had a 1.2 kilo steak and an amazing cheesecake for dessert. We had a lovely time and the waitstaff went out of their way to spoil us. At around 8 PM, they messaged us, "Where are you?" And we just ignored it. As it turned out, Anne had forgotten to make a reservation and the fish restaurant was fully booked, but they couldn't leave and go somewhere else because they had to wait for the cake to be delivered. They ended up taking the cake back to their trashy hotel and eating it with their credit cards as they didn't even have cutlery and plates in their room. They got hammered that night on supermarket vodka. Mike and I had the perfect evening. We got a taxi home, smoked weed on our balcony, watched the stars, and kissed for hours. Number 6. The next day, Mike and I set out for a day of hiking in the UNESCO World Heritage Site National Park. It was the best day ever. Mike got robbed and bitten by a monkey, which was freaking hilarious. We ate a full English breakfast in the Sky restaurant and explored St. Michael's Cave. Unforgettable memories were made. Diane and 4 decided it was Gibraltar's fault and then spontaneously decided to leave. Sorry, I just have to interject it. Did you? I really hope that you got Mike a rabies jab. I'm sure he's fine, but getting bitten by a monkey in Gibraltar, you need to be careful. Like, if that ever happens to anyone else listening or watching this, right? You need to go and get a rabies jab within 24 hours, or you might die. In fact, you will die if that monkey had rabies. Sorry to take everyone out of the moment here, just worried for Mike's life. But then again, this was posted 22 days ago. I feel like Mike would have died by this point if that monkey had given him rabies. Let's carry on. Oh, actually, no, don't worry. I just looked it up. The Barbary macaws that live on the Rock of Gibraltar are vaccinated against rabies and are unlikely to carry the disease. Fair enough. Get me to Gibraltar. I'll happily take a bite. Anyway, let's get back to Di and Anne. They booked a beach resort up the coast somewhere in Spain and headed on foot to the train station. The trains were all messed up and they got stranded somewhere in Spain with all their luggage, and it took them 14 hours to get to the resort. They arrived at 11 PM and were checking out the next morning. Oh my goodness. And finally, number 7, Mike and I spent a few more nights enjoying our honeymoon and then we road tripped home. We stayed in the same little place in Cartagena on the way back, and the host threw us a little surprise party. It was magical. Whereas Di and Anne got stranded again on the way home, lost half their luggage, and, to top it all off, caught COVID. Wow. That is the tale of 2 weddings. Phenomenal. Oh god, what a miserable life these two are going to have together. Sorry, it's just like, that's just what's come to my mind immediately. It just doesn't sound fun, anything they're doing at all. The decisions they're making just make no sense. They have no logic, and they just sound as if they're just very kind of annoying people to be around that just make your life difficult. It's interesting that you're even friends in the first place, to be completely honest with you. I wouldn't want to be friends with people like this. They're just unnecessarily annoying and just make everything difficult, as I said. Yeah, it sounds like they are just determined to be miserable and then put that misery onto you guys as well. But well done, I will say, for not, being affected by these guys, doing your own things, making excellent choices and having a phenomenal wedding and sort of honeymoon around that time as well. That is great from you. And yeah, well done for sticking to what you wanted to do and not being dragged along by these 2 absolute losers. Someone tried to get me fired for existing. Back in the early 2000s, I was the IT manager for a small company. In May of one year, I hired Robin, the first female in our department. She was a church friend of one of my team and he recommended her. I made sure that she met the other team member and gave them time without me present. I not only got his feedback, but I made sure that she had a good vibe from him before I hired her. Everyone got along and things were running smoothly for several months. The Friday before Thanksgiving, we had a company get-together and everyone's spouses came. That's when Robin met my husband. I left on Saturday for a 2-week vacation, and when I got back, my boss called me before I could even boot up my computer and asked me to come to his office. While I was gone, Robin accused me of sexual harassment. HR did their investigation and said they could find no evidence of it, because it never happened, but offered to transfer her to another department and she declined. Then she said I was an incompetent manager. My style was to assign projects based on people's skills or interests, or let them decide among themselves who was going to do what if it wasn't specific. The other two people in the department loved the freedom and trust. Robin apparently did not. That is exactly the sort of boss that I would want. Someone that just trusts me to get on with what I need to do and just says, okay, I believe in you, go and do your thing, come back when it's done. My boss said that she couldn't point out any specific requests she made that I was unresponsive to, nor could she think of any time I singled her out or treated her differently. The fact that I wasn't micromanaging her made me a bad manager in her eyes. My boss told her that might be new for her, but that was how he managed too, and he'd never heard anyone complain about being trusted too much or given too much freedom. He suggested she tell me that she needed more oversight. She said she wasn't comfortable having that conversation, so he offered to do it for her. That's when she said that she couldn't work with me because I am gay. Oh my goodness. Okay, the truth comes out. My boss asked her if I said or did anything inappropriate, and she said no. In fact, prior to meeting my husband, she thought I was talking about a roommate when I referred to him. Ah, now I see. Okay. Homosexuality was against her religious beliefs, and she never would have taken the job had she known. My presence created a hostile work environment for her, so he had to fire me, according to her, of course, this is. She was also outraged that my boss dared to call himself a Christian and would accept someone so blatantly sinful. My boss told her to get over it or quit because he was not firing me over her religious beliefs. And she actually quit. When I got back to my desk, the guy who recommended her said she started stirring stuff up at church, trying to get him thrown out of the congregation since he knew I was gay. He said the church had several lesbian and gay members and never said anything negative about homosexuality, so he was surprised at her stance. The preacher actually asked her not to come back. I was blown away by Robin's sense of entitlement. She thought her being an evangelical Christian meant she got to dictate who a company could hire or who could attend a church. I was thankful that everyone, my boss, HR, my team, even an unknown preacher, had my back. Oh, there we go. I was wondering, I was really wondering at the start why the Thanksgiving party was relevant to the story. It sounded as if to me it was just kind of thrown in there and it wasn't really relevant, and then we just went back to the story. But of course, that is where Robin met your husband, OP, and the homophobia really came out. I mean, it's one thing being homophobic. Personally, I don't really advocate for that, I'm going to be honest. It's not something that I personally stand for, obviously. But it's another thing then saying, oh, because somebody's gay, I now cannot work with them. They need to be kicked out of church. Oh, and then they sexually harass me. Because obviously if you are gay, then you do, just by law, unfortunately, just sexually harass people. It's just a fact of being gay. And, you guys watching out there that are gay will know that. It's what you sign up for. When you say, I'll write my signature here, I'm gay now. You are going to get an assault charge and you're probably going to go to prison for that. It's tough, but if you want to be gay, that's the thing you got to do. Well, at least that's what it sounds like this woman thinks. Because she is stupid. I think we can all agree on that. Robin, more like she's Robin brain cells from me after I read this. Let's get on to the final story. Now for our next story. Entitled couple plan a photo shoot at my gazebo. Entitled couple plan a photo shoot at my gazebo. I am a 50-year-old woman and I rent a place along a river in Ontario, Canada every year in August for 10 to 14 days. My rental includes exclusive use of a cabin, a private deck with a hot tub, and a furnished gazebo. Mine is the only rental with a gazebo. Just east of my place is another, smaller cabin with just a dock and a hot tub. I get back from a quick grocery shopping expedition. As I'm unpacking my car, a young woman walks over and climbs on my deck. She's obviously either just showered or just gone out of the hot tub. She's in a bathrobe. "Hi," she says. "I just wanted to stop by and tell you that me and my partner will be doing a photo shoot in the gazebo tomorrow morning. Just letting you know as a courtesy, since we will be moving your boats out for the photo shoot. Don't worry though, we will put them back." Now, the gazebo is attached to the deck which surrounds my rental cabin. My kayaks are in the gazebo when rain is forecast. It's been raining off and on all day. Now, I have exclusive use of the entire area. Nobody from the other rentals is supposed to come near my area. This info is part of the owner's orientation for all new arrivals. I'm standing at my cabin door with grocery bags in my hands, dumbfounded that she thinks she can take over the gazebo that is part of my rental. So, are you staying here alone, or do you have your husband and kids with you? Do you own the cabin? How much did it cost? How long have you been here? These were bullet quick questions that she asked. No pauses for answers. So I just say, you are in my private space. Please leave. Oh, I'm just being friendly. No, you are intruding on my space and invading my privacy. Your questions are intrusive and creepy. You will not be doing a photo shoot tomorrow or any time in my gazebo. Please leave now. No need to get snippy, she says in a snippy tone. We're doing the shoot tomorrow, so you better not interfere. Given your attitude, I think it's best that you head into town by 8. Don't come back before 2. Oh my god. So now she's not only demanding and telling you that she is going to be using your gazebo and chucking all your stuff out of there, but she's actually now saying you should go and be in this exact location from this time to this time. Just full control of your life at this point. I kind of love it, to be honest, the audacity to say, no, actually, you know what, go over there for 6 hours. That's unbelievable. No, that's not happening, I replied. Get off my deck and get out of my space now. She then stamps her foot. You are being unreasonable. You're the only one with a gazebo. You need to share. No, I don't. Leave now. I went into the cabin, locked the door, and immediately messaged the owner. I've been renting here for years. The owner and I had become friends. They didn't show up for their photo shoot, and the owner had to chase them out of the rental the next morning. They were still in bed an hour past checkout time. Okay, good on the owner to back you up there. And I think that's actually the thing that's consistent across all 3 of these stories today, which is quite rare, as you guys will know if you've listened or watched a lot of these stories. Normally, you know, people that are involved in these stories, quite a lot of them are quite stupid. Not just the individual that is entitled or, you know, is the main perpetrator in an individual story, but also the people surrounding it. You know, a lot of people tend to side with the idiots. I don't really know why. I've read so many stories where one member of a family, for example, is just a horrible person to another member of the family. And I get that can happen. But then for some reason, you know, the other family members side with the horrible one. And that I don't really understand at all. I mean, maybe they're all just dumb. That's probably the logical answer there. But thankfully in this story, well, in all 3 of these stories, there was only one sort of individual or 2 individuals, I suppose, in Di and Anne's case that were bad. And everyone else supported the good people, the original posters on Reddit. So that's good to see. And the same thing happened here, right? You know, the owner came out of nowhere and said, this is not happening. I'm going to go kick them out. And it's good that they backed you up, as I said. But yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's not even close to being an honest mistake. She knew exactly what she wanted to do. She knew 100%. I'm so confident in the fact that she knew that gazebo was yours, or at least it was attached to the property that you've been renting, or, you know, she doesn't even know. She doesn't even know you might own it. The questions were extremely weird. I do agree with you there. The fact that she's just gone bang, 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 ask you loads of questions, trying to get as much information as possible. Very, very strange. Or was she trying to just, you know, distract you from the fact that she's just said, I'm using your gazebo tomorrow, get your kayaks out of there. And then, yeah, the thing I love the most is the fact that she told you where to be for 6 hours. Just so good. But anyway, that is going to do it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed these entitled people stories. If you did and you want more, check out this episode on screen. If you're new to the channel, click this button over here, subscribe for more Reddit content each and every day, and I'll catch you on the next one.